The views, opinions, and wild ramblings expressed on this podcast are strictly those of our hosts and do not reflect the thoughts, values, or overly serious policies of their employers, sponsors, advertisers, or anyone with a legal team. All scenarios we discuss are based on past experiences, most of which we barely survived, and have nothing to do with any of our current jobs or employers. Basically, don't sue us. We're just here for the laughs, not the lawsuits.
Welcome to the Four Friends Trying to Figure Out HR, the podcast where we blend workplace drama, HR nightmares, and a way too much oversharing into one wildly inappropriate package.
Your hosts, they're a real dream team. First, we have Mama Mel, the HR queen with a knack for keeping it real and breaking the rules when nobody's looking.
Heavy on the no one's looking.
Next, we have Dr. Green, the one with all the fancy-ass degrees and the questionable sense of humor.
E equals MC squared.
Such a nerd. I'm the Big Llama. I come for the big laughs, the bigger opinions, and absolutely zero filter, because I don't even know what that word means. And last but not least, we've got Jake from HR. He's not wearing any khakis, and it's questionable if he's even wearing pants, but he is here to ensure that we're breaking HR guidelines just for fun.
I'm always here to judge.
So buckle up, grab your handbook, maybe a cocktail, and join us as we figure out HR one awkward scenario at a time.
So tonight's topic is going to take us all back to our childhood drama, our nightmares, our tortures, our fears. How many of us remember being in your room and hearing your parents say, "Come here," or "Jason, I need to talk to you." Your heart starts racing. You start sweating. You start thinking about everything that you possibly could have done wrong because you have no idea what it's about. That brings us to our topic tonight, which is workplace trauma. What gives you PTSD or anxiety? We'll start with Mama Mel.
Going to work, period. Anxiety. You guys ever got, first of all, I really like the way you introed that. Very scary. I immediately thought of my parents. Melissa, Ann, ven para acá. And then I knew it first and middle name. Oh shit. What did I do? Did they find out that I skipped fourth period and went to a different school?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
They sure did.
We need to talk about that later.
Yeah, that's a topic for another day. I'll tell you what gives me anxiety. Team's message from your superior. Hey, you got a couple of minutes?
Ooh.
Or Slack.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking I'll pack it up now. We don't have to talk.
Where's that box?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that there's a million TikToks that have that same anxiety-riddled message, like, "Hey, we have a 2:00 meeting with someone you've never met with before ever." So this is real. Like the anxiety and the PTSD of this stuff is even though we've experienced it, I think it's a prevalent thing. I think people are really experiencing this not only in real life, but like vicariously through in TikToks. Again, I'm the old man surfing TikToks, I guess. But no, it's true.
What I think is funny is the fact that, and I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I work in HR and I've been in the room dozens of times with general conversations as well as corrective conversations. And even to this day, when I get a message from my boss my heart starts racing because I'm trying to think, oh my God, did I screw something up? Did I do something wrong? And it's not, and to be honest, I know there's people out there that'll say, well, that means you're doing something wrong, or you have a guilty conscience. I mean, honestly, I have a fear of disappointing my team, and I have a fear of unknowingly doing something wrong. So, there's all kinds of tricks of the trade that we could probably give as advice that might help with this situation, but it's so different for every person and every job and every supervisor that there's no advice that fits every scenario perfectly. So
I was going to give you a thought on this, and y'all could probably back me up on this one. We have an HR gut. That's what I call it. Like, your gut tells you something's up, whether it's a situation investigation, whatever it is. You get the dreaded weird message like, hey, can we talk? And you're like, oh, this person always says, hey, can we talk? And then, like you said earlier, there's that person that you normally would not be in the call with you, and your boss shows up, and you're like, oh man, I knew it. And then the next words out of your mouth is, hey, we're gonna go ahead and let you go. Like, that's my biggest fear. Like, if I know the person says it over and over, like that's their normal, hey, let's talk. Sure. But you bring in somebody else, then I know something's up. But like, you feel it. You feel it when you're about to get those words.
Yeah. But there is verbiage though that you could always use to help kind of identify, is this something I need to be worried about? Because a lot of times, it's kind of 50-50. You'll get that message that says, hey, do you have a moment? Or, hey, let's catch up tomorrow morning. To me, I think it's worse when you send that message like, let's catch up tomorrow. Or, hey, we're coming to the end of the day. Let's talk tomorrow morning. Or, hey, it's 8:00 in the morning. Let's catch up at the end of the day. Because you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I prepare for this? What I want to say is I think it's absolutely okay to reply back to the message and say, absolutely. Would you mind sharing what this is about so I can be prepared for the conversation? Don't be afraid to ask what it's about. And then they'll tell you right then and there if it's a confidential conversation versus just like a check-in or a one-on-one conversation. But I swing that around to hopefully any listeners that are leaders, that when you send that message, throw a little bit more in there. Don't just be like, hey, do you got 10 minutes? Or, hey, can we catch up at the end of the day? Like, what are we talking about? Hey, do you got 10 minutes? I wanted to catch up on that briefing. Or, hey, can we recap at the end of the day? I wanted to figure out where you stand on your projects for the week. Explain, we get so caught up in our day-to-day that we tend to forget what's in our head is, we're not talking to Miss Cleo. They're not psychic. Like, they need to know what we want to talk about. If not, you leave them on eggshells. And when you're in HR or when you're in a senior leadership position, it's even more scary to get those kind of messages for those people. And I think sometimes we even tend to forget that while we're close with some of our employees, while we have that great relationship with them, that's irrelevant because everybody fears of doing something wrong. And I know there's those exceptions out there of people who just don't care. You could call them and be like, hey, I got to call you about, some people that died, and they wouldn't even care. I'm talking about the majority of the people.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, like, so what's your go-to, okay, so in my head, right, I go through this like series of questions to myself. Like, just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Am I getting fired? Right. But like, what comes to mind first? Do you check your emails, your replies, your oldest email? Do you check your like to-do list? Like what process do you guys? Because I know for me, it's instant panic followed by like completely checking the entire email history for that person's name who said we need to talk, and then it's probably calling a phone a friend hey, did you hear anything? Like, what's up? Text messages. And you know, and sometimes I want to play it cool, but sometimes I freak out. So like, what's some of your guys's like checklist items?
I
Employee
replay.
interactions.
Yeah. Replay interactions. I replay everything I might have said for like the whole week. And then I go, dang, Kenny did say I was unhinged. I must have said something stupid.
Yeah. Sometimes
So I
it's
replay every situation
self-explanatory.
and it blows my mind.
Yeah. I will say sometimes it's self-explanatory because if you get off a Teams meeting and then all of a sudden after that Teams meeting where you may have been a little bit more vocal than normal, you get that ping, hey, you got 5 minutes? You may have said something wrong. Like, you know, shouldn't have flicked that person off on camera. You know, I shouldn't have called someone an asshole in the middle of a conference call with 34 people on the call. You know, those are self-explanatory. So we're not talking about the common sense ones.
Right, right.
This is real, by the way. He has done these things. I'm just kidding.
Not on camera.
I go on an apology tour.
Not
sometimes.
on camera, though.
Yeah.
This ain't Timberland.
You know what?
It's too late to apologize, buddy.
What are you apologizing for?
I don't know. I'm on an apology tour. Like if I think I did something like when okay, so I can't pinpoint anything. My reliable text friend isn't there. I'm not getting any answers. I'll be around like, hey, everything all right? You know, I just want to make sure, you know, because I want to make sure I'm taking care of things. If I was over the top in a meeting, like I'll go to the meeting and be like, hey, was I too much in that meeting? You know, again, I'm going everywhere. Like I'm poking every bear and just like, because I'm in a panic until you tell me it's okay, like it's fine, nothing serious. But until that's a complete like dick move to say, oh, we'll just talk tomorrow. No, because all night long I'm gonna be tossing and turning to my.
Yes.
I'm gonna call my wife on the way home. Go, what the hell did I do? And I swear to God. And then like before I know it, I've like pinned 17 like fireable things on myself, and I'm like, what did I do that for?
Yes, I will say you have to be careful about asking other people if they've heard stuff before, because I know, you know. Yeah. I at one point I was guilty about being that person that would team someone or email someone saying, hey, catch up with me at this time, or hey, you got 5 minutes at the end of the day or after lunch. And then by the time I get to them, I've already had 3 conversations with 3 other people that are like, yeah, Becky was asking what you wanted. And I'm all like, well, why didn't Becky just ask me herself? I just want to talk.
Damn it, Becky.
I just want to talk to her about her benefits. I know, right? But I just wanted to tell Becky her benefits are changing.
We're starting beefs with people when we don't even talk to them. It's like, what the hell you got on me? Hell, that.
I know.
Like I said, damn it, Becky.
So I have a picture in my office, and it's an amazing picture. It's a picture of a goldfish underwater, and it's wearing a shark fin that you can only see above water, and it says mindset is everything. And I love that quote, because when it comes to like this topic tonight, that message is the shark fin. And we tend to forget that our words can be very powerful and impacting. And, you know, and while I don't want to degrade on certain generations, I do acknowledge that, you know, there are individuals out there that do suffer from anxiety, and they do suffer from panic attacks and fears. And, I can almost guarantee there's been a situation that was not probably important where someone sent someone a message and was like, hey, can we catch up later? And the other person ends up taking the rest of the day off sick because they spent half the day worrying about what is this about? What did I do wrong? And they just went home for the day. And then they came back the next day and they were like, I'm sorry I left early yesterday. I was so scared about what you wanted to talk to me about. I just didn't know what it was. My anxiety got to me. And it's like, oh, I just wanted to tell you that you won a competition.
But see, like someone who is a nervous Nelly like myself, right? I really like something that Mama said last episode when we were talking about speed dating and hiring. You said you're the guy that's going to prep the people, give them a little pep talk, give them a little context, right? Like, hey, these people were in your shoes not too long ago. You prep them a little bit, you get them comfortable, you give them a little bit of comfort, right? When I send out Teams messages, like, you got a couple minutes, I always do dash, want to run something by you, dash, want to talk to you about something, because as a receiver of, you got 5 minutes, instant panic in my brain. I'm packing up my office. I've got everything in the corner. I'm ready to go. And then it's like, hey, can you help run, this training next month? And then I'm like, girl, I packed up my office.
Time to unpack.
Just
Travel
kidding.
Till the next team's message, and then I'm packing up again.
Yeah.
No, but like to your point, it people may say like, oh, well, like, you've got a guilty conscience, that's why you feel, but no, it's not always that you've got to get. Sometimes we just don't feel safe in our environment, and it's got nothing to do with our actions. It's just not, it's your environment, the environment that you're in.
Yeah. To me, I'm a perfectionist. I am like, I know I have probably an obsessive compulsive disorder where like I have to do everything right and I have to do it better. And it's been a benefit and a burden at the same time throughout my career. So anytime someone's ever said, hey, I need to talk to you, I can't control it. It's a natural body function where my heart just starts racing. And like I've had to work on breathing control so that it's not physically noticeable, but sometimes I can't control my entire body. And if I get really nervous, my neck turns blood red and my ears turn red. And then people start looking at me like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm good. It's just a little hot in here. Little warm.
So my question for you, Jason, is what about, because there are some people out there, that leaders that intentionally do the, hey, I want to talk to you at the end of the day. Don't give context. Don't say nothing, because truly they're either, and we'll just say it, they're a bad leader because they're not aware of their surroundings, of the people that are around them, or their people that are working for them. And they say those things. So I am 1000% in saying, give something. Like I always say what I'm talking to you about. Hey, when you get a second, I want to talk to you about the performance reviews. It's that simple. And the ones who don't do that, sometimes I run through my head like, you were intentional in what you said. You did that, and you didn't care. And so that's my thought.
Yeah. Well, it's also tone. Well, you can't see tone in a message.
You can put a smiley face with it. Need to see you after work. Smiley face.
There you go.
That's yeah. But
LOL.
All right. So okay. So I can't be the only one. What voice do you read things in? Is it your own voice or somebody else's voice? Or when you get an email, do you read it in their voice? Because sometimes that helps me. Sometimes it helps me. Like if I know this is a very nice person, when I'm reading their message, I'm reading it in their voice, and I'm like,
yeah. The harshest voice that I've ever heard from that person is how I read it. The harshest voice possible.
Exactly. She's screaming.
That's email etiquette, though. Like if you're good at writing emails, which I not advertising, but I would recommend you get it. Grammarly will tell you what your tone of your email sounds. Is it happy? Is it rude? Is it mean? Is it, whatever it is? That's where the email etiquette comes, that you cannot read emotions in an email. It's all words, unless they tell you, I hate your ass. Then unless they tell you the emotion, you have to read it just blank. But I am absolutely with you there, Big Llama, because I do the same exact thing. The worst, the worst sound and, their angriest moments.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh, crap, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. I will say, though, for the young leaders and the young managers and those that may be early on in their career, to me, it also kind of ruins your reputation and your ability to have what I call like makeups, because we're all human. No matter how long you've been in management and HR and any authoritative position, influential position, we all make mistakes. And at some point in time, it's going to be seen, it's going to be heard. And when you take those one-offs that we have once in a blue moon and then add them to this anxiety of every time they send me a message, I'm worried about what I did wrong, it really starts affecting your credibility. And it also starts giving you a reputation of being someone to be feared. But I will say I've had amazing bosses in a few different positions that I've held throughout my career, and the kind of relationship where like we talk every day and we're very open, and honestly I feel more comfortable talking to them than I do my own husband sometimes. But when they send that one message and it's like, I need to talk to you, my anxiety, my fear flashes between my eyes. And then like, if it's more than a 10-minute wait, I start thinking about, okay, God, what job am I going to get next? What job can I apply to? Who's hiring right now? Like, I can't go without a job. It's like, because I'm
for unemployment.
Like, I am one of those people that I hope for the best, but I plan for the worst. I am a positive Patricia and a realistic Rachel, all in one voice.
Expect
I'm also negative for the best. I know, but I'm also a negative Nancy on some days. So
there you are.
But okay, so but also, okay, so for me, we need to talk, or can we talk? It's also brought on by by my spouse, okay, my wife, because when she hits me with the, hey, we need to talk. Again, all of the emotions that I have at work hit me like a ton of bricks. The difference is I don't have emails that I can scour. I don't have someone to text. I'm alone in an island. I'm scared. I'm about to get skewered. I don't know what I did. And then I start thinking, did I do the dishes? Did I forget to take out the dogs? And again, the anxiety is there, but I think ladies know that what they're doing with their husbands or significant others, right, Mama Mel?
I'm going to plead the fifth. Do you think that's where that trauma comes from? Because think about it, when we want to break it off with someone, hey, we need to talk.
It might be.
That's a breakup. That's you already know. Okay, all right, it's not going to work out. I think that's where that trauma comes from.
Is it sad to say that I enjoy doing that for fun?
But it's also the same for whenever you leave work, like you're leaving that job.
Yeah, I will actually send Alex text messages just to get a response out of him. It won't even be. He does sometimes, but I don't even send him the message like we need to talk. I'll just be like, it happened again, or we need to discuss Tuesday, and he'll have no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh my God! You give him a date.
I just say random things because, to me, while it's terrible at work, I enjoy it at home.
You're terrible.
Hey, it keeps the relationship interesting, but it's terrible to do with your employees.
You need help.
Don't do it with your employees. Just do it with your spouses.
But
I
agree with
Mel. Jeez.
I agree with Mel. I think it has to do with childhood trauma of, you have a girlfriend or significant other, and then it's like, hey, we need to talk. I'm like, God, no, what did I do? It's over. So I buy flowers.
Could you imagine?
But think about it.
Could you imagine your boss calls you into the office because they need to talk, and you walk in, there's a chancla on the counter.
Shit. I'm running. I'm running.
And
explain the chancla.
They can't hit you with it at work, but the fear.
Okay, so we need to. So can anyone look up the definition of a chancla and give it to Dr. Green, because he is deer in the headlights look right now.
No, he knows what
And
chancla. Do you know what a
No.
chancla is?
idea. No.
It's a flip flop. It's like a shoe. It's like a flip flop. Okay,
Why don't you
for
just
white.
say a damn flip-flop?
Okay, put it in white people language. It's like a switch. It's like a switch,
Oh.
but wider, and you can.
Dr.
and
Green
easier
and I
to
looked
throw.
at the same.
It's like a switch. I grew up in Alabama where we got in trouble. We used to go pick our own plum switches to get switched with, or
Not a Nintendo Switch, a switch off of the tree,
Lord.
a
Oh,
branch.
I am
And
so.
you-
I forgot
and
about.
you were the
I forgot.
dumbass that got a little twig and thought you were going to be smart and get a little twig. She went out there and got a branch for your ass.
Yes. That's what we all envision. We envision the switches, the chanclas, the belts, in some cases, something more severe. Hopefully not, but
I
This is not
hesitated
50
at
Shades
that
of Grey.
pause. Hopefully.
well,
oh my god.
I'm just saying, like, sometimes people throw a TV or an ashtray.
Well,
what?
my
TV?
listen, my mother was famous for throwing things that gave me pleasure. So like my Nintendo Entertainment System has flown across the room and hit me in the face.
That
Buddy,
gave you pleasure.
buddy.
No, like I phrased that wrong.
The
guys.
things that made him,
Yeah, you
the things he
did.
Be
enjoyed.
happy. Yeah, the things I enjoy.
Oh,
So many a Nintendo game have hit me in the face or the arm. My Nintendo Switch, controllers have hit me. The little square ones, the little bricks from the 1985
yeah.
game. Yeah, for
Yeah, the original Nintendo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we used to write things on caveman walls.
I also think if you go back to dating, talk about that dating piece of getting broken up with, it's also that you have, because you're young, you don't understand, like you're thinking everything's going great. And then somebody doesn't like something, or the maturity's not there to be able to work through the issue. And it's kind of like at work. There are some leaders who don't have the emotional maturity in order to move past whatever the situation is and teach and learn from those things, because it goes both ways. Same thing in a relationship. And so they decide that, you know what, it's just easier to break up with the person. It's just easier to fire them. And you have to be able to go, let's see what we can do better. That's psychological safety. Looking at the bigger picture.
I like that. That's what makes me excited when I think about like all of the functions that HR has, but even like leaders that are not in the HR world, right? Like it's that coaching, that learning and development piece that we can instill into others. Like for those of us that have been doing this for a while, and we see I don't want to necessarily say younger, because sometimes they're not younger, but just greener HR folks, I want to like just immediately help them and instill all of these lessons and things that I've learned over the years in doing HR, and I want to learn and coach and train and develop them. But when we see, I can't remember, Jake, it may have been you that said this, but the leader that is notorious for fear, you're instilling fear instead of building the rapport, getting in the trenches with your folks, right? It's easier to just remove the problem, but it should make you excited to want to work with someone like that, because the reward of that, when you're able to turn that situation or that employee around and you're able to see their successes, should be what motivates you. Do you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
But it brings
I have
you
a question.
joy. So yeah.
I have a question for each of you. How do you know when you have psychological safety with your
Well,
boss?
what is it exactly?
So psychological safety is being able, or think of a work environment, right? Or a belief that as individuals, we can voice our concerns, we can ask questions, we can speak up or make mistakes without the risk of punishment, without the risk of shame. When
Without fear.
without fear, yeah.
Yeah, like there's an understanding that there are rules that if you break, there's going to be accountability. But it's the ability to know that you can make some mistakes or certain mistakes without always being written up, or you can have that open dialogue with your boss about your own personal success or failure within the organization, as well as how whether or not they're being a benefit to your career growth or what they can be doing better to help you. And the verbiage I like to use is it's taking the politics out of it, because we all know, those terms where, you can go to HR, it's a safe place, and everyone has this assumption that, oh, we're going to run back and tell ops everything they said. So then they don't feel like they have psychological safety with us. Or if they go and they tell their supervisor something, the supervisor is going to immediately start a huge investigation. So they don't feel psychologically safe. Or in some cases, I've had supervisors where they weren't performing well and it made my job harder. And I've shared that with them. And because I shared with them areas that I see that they weren't pulling their weight in it, and it was making my job harder, they got offended. And now my head was on the chopping block because I just, not in a mean way, but in a very productive way, I brought that to light in a private conversation between us two. So, in knowing that we want our employees to feel comfortable to come and talk to us or have a open dialogue with us about wins and opportunities. And I'm not talking about the insane stuff. Like if someone comes in and tells you about a Title VII violation, like, oh, I want to keep it confidential. That's not going to happen. We got to do an investigation. I'm talking about the circumstances that it makes sense to be able to have legitimate confidentiality or legitimate transparency between one another without a fear of it affecting you. How do you know when you've reached that point with your boss?
I would say
know
open communication.
But how do you measure it? How do you measure it though?
I can measure it by the relationship that I built. If it's hard, of course, when you have a new job and you have a new leader and you're trying to find those dynamics. But things like the way I test it is I had one leader told me I am too honest for my own good. And that's pretty much true. I will admit my mistake because number one, I need to learn from it. So admitting it to you is letting you know, hey, I made a mistake, but I'm going to fix it. And so when they say, okay, cool, you got a plan for it, sounds good. That's when I know that leader is not about honing in and harping on the bad thing I did, but they're happy that I came up with a solution for my own problem and that I admitted my mistake. That is how I measure psychological safety.
What about you, Mama? How do you measure it?
Well, I think about psychologically being safe, and I measure it, and this may be unobtainable, right? But it's the best way that I can describe it. I measure it to my relationship with my partner. I feel very safe in all aspects of life with that man. And if I feel psychologically, I can measure feeling safe in my work environment to the way that I feel with him, then that's psychological safe to me. Like that's how I measure it for me, because it's a relationship, right? Like it's a relationship with your boss. It could be a relationship with your peers, but it's a relationship, professional relationship, personal relationship. Of course, two different things, right? That's what I'm saying. It may be unobtainable for some, but that's my measure. That's my standard.
I love that analogy. I have something to add to it, but I want to see what Big Llama's response is.
Well, this is why I love this podcast, because we can actually just admit some things. I think I do a pretty good job of giving people that safe, that psychological safety. I give a lot of that, and I think I make people feel very comfortable. Not, again, I'll always do it within the rules, always make sure that I'm doing my job, but I kind of feel like people open up to me, which is really, really good. I love that. However, I don't know that I've ever felt psychologically safe, because you learn over the years, right? I think I've had a false sense of safety, right? I got comfortable somewhere. I thought I could confide. And then unfortunately, things have fallen through that have either shattered that image, right? Or that have hurt me, whether it's professionally or personally. So I don't know that I've ever really hit that comfort zone with anybody. Because unfortunately, people are in this is just my mindset, is that we are all inherently selfish. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about you guys or anybody. I'm just saying, I think when push comes to shove, right, and we have to look out for our family and our well-being and our livelihood, I think a lot of us default to self-preservation. So unless you are willing to stand on business and defend your friends and family and all that stuff and risk your job, a lot of the times, that's just my thought. That's just my feelings on it. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer and saying that you can't trust anyone, but that's just been my experience to it. So I like to give people that, as much of that as they can, because I want them to feel well and I don't want them to feel like me. But I am a little bit tortured where I don't feel it myself. And so I recognize that, though. I recognize that. And as much as people want to say, you can trust me, and I don't trust you at all. And I don't, and look, I'm just being 100% about it, because it's the absolute truth. And it's just been my past experiences. It's been, I will define it to say, one specific moment of giving a company over 20 plus years of my life, and then being handed a folder, that shattered any illusion of the psychological safety, because everything and anything that I've done up to that point came to light. So again, so I'm a little bit jaded and a little bit rough on it, but again, I can admit it. I can admit what my feelings are, but it does not change. It does not change my my drive or the way that I do things. So again, I want to give that psychological safety, and to be honest, I don't have an ego about it. I'm not trying to one up someone. I just want to make them feel comfortable, safe, help. I want to be helpful, but I just never felt it myself.
I love
sorry
that.
To bring the room down.
You're not. It's not jaded. You're not being a Debbie Downer, but I think for a lot of us in HR, that's exactly how we feel.
Yeah,
we have been given, and I'm not saying it's like this everywhere, right? But in our world, we are the safety net. We are the last man sometimes, and so for you to be able to provide that to other people is putting the human in human resources, which is our job. And that's a tough thing to do, because there are some HR folks out there, and I'm sure we all know some or have encountered some at some point in our careers that don't care. I don't give a shit. So it is the reality of a lot of us that are in HR. And this is, you may be able to relate to this even if you're not in HR, but everything you just said resonated so heavily within me, because I'm like, that's true. We are the people that to give that it's expected of us to give that, but we've never experienced that.
Yeah. The way there's so much truth to what each of you said. The way I would explain it is that there's never a true 100% psychological safety. So some of us are at 10% on that, and some of us may be at 90%, but there's never truly 100% psychological safety, because at the end of the day, they are not family. They are not friends. They are not the one that's, while they do give you a paycheck, if you get fired, they're not paying your bills. So I don't think what you said, Big Llama, is wrong. I think the way people can better understand it is there's a percentage of it that's there, and it's never 100. And some other individuals are higher on that scale while others are lower. But I also love the fact that Mama Mel kind of associated with the relationship, because I look at it like that as well, but it's backwards, where when you meet someone and you fall in love with them and you start dating them and you marry them, you have 100% trust there until the day it's broken. And then it's hard to get that trust back. Where with an employer, with a boss, I think it's backwards. I think we come in very guarded and very not trusting, very closed. And we have to build that trust. We have to build that psychological safety that tends to come more instinctual in a relationship. Well, when it's personal, it's backwards. We have to build on it. And I think that's where the longer you're with a company, the more you put into the business, that's where you get from that 10% up to 90, because you start getting more comfortable, more safe, more protected. And we just, at the end of the day, there's a business to run. And unless you're willing to admit to your company and your boss that you murdered someone, and where you hit the body and all the evidence that's going to be used to prosecute you, and with a guaranteed fact they're not going to report you, you don't have 100% psychological safety. Terrible analogy, I know, but
what is wrong with you?
I'm just saying, I know who I would call to bury a body with, and it's not anyone at work. So
I don't want to go. It's too late of a drive.
I'm
tired.
We're not calling Mama
stop every 20 seconds.
I got a headache.
Snacks?
I can't.
Where are we going? Is there a Starbucks on the way? I have questions.
It's I gotta change my clothes afterwards and burn them. No.
You mean I have to wear this plastic suit? No, I'm good.
I can't carry this person. They're heavy.
You guys have been watching too much true crime documentaries. I can hear it all.
No, actually, it was a TikTok video. I think we've all seen that TikTok video. If not, most of us have, where they're asking parents, would you murder for your child? Because to me, when I was talking about the psychological safety, that kept playing in my head, because the psychological safety of your children with you, to trust you and have confidence in you. Because I actually thought about that answer. Would I murder for my child? I absolutely would. I mean, I'm not just going to go do it for joy, but if someone, no, I'm serious. If someone, essayed one of my children or murdered one of my children, I absolutely would murder someone over that.
Tonight on Dateline.
I'm just saying, I would end up on an episode of I almost got away with it, and I would be absolutely okay with that. So my kids have psychological safety with me.
Listen, you know how we're going to get virally famous off of this podcast is when we're featured in a true crime documentary, and they go, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to present the People's Exhibit 1A, the Just Four Friends Trying to Figure Out HR podcast.
He admitted to it. He preemptively planned it.
And they're just going to play the clip, and then all of our faces are going to be on this true crime documentary.
No, they're not. They're going to blur you all out.
I am innocent until proven guilty. Damn it.
Oh, no. Listen, they're not blurring my face out. I'm going to sign the release. I want to be in the documentary. I want to be the famous guy. Everyone else's face is blurred out. What about that guy?
Hey, all I ask is when you sell your book, at least put 2% on my books.
You'll be the one in jail. What are you talking about? You need it for your pack of cigarettes that you're going to be trading?
I'm saying you can't sell the rights to a book if you're in prison, but if y'all sell the book, you can give me 2% of your profits on my books, so I have something to barter with when I'm in prison, because my looks are only going to last me so long.
Oh, shoot. They'd only last you probably the next 6 years.
I will send you. I'll put money on your books for your Ramen and Slim Jims.
Yes, thank you. I might even pick up smoking. I might pick up smoking.
We got to contribute to your toilet wine.
But I know I took it down a dark rabbit hole, but psychological safety comes in many forms, both personally, from a parent's perspective, from a sibling's perspective, from a child, a friend. And today's topic just happens to really be focused on the work piece of it. But I do agree with all of you. And I think one of the biggest things that people learn the lesson the hard way is the way you did, Big Llama, the way I did. I have my own horror stories that I had 100% psychological safety in organizations, and I ended up getting screwed over at the end. And it taught me the value of don't be who don't stop being who you are. Don't not give it 100%. Like, don't change who you are that makes you a great leader, a great person, a great worker. But just know that there does need to be guards there. There has to be guards there. You can't have 100% psychological safety in an organization as far as, like, oh, I'm never going to get fired, because you don't know what that organization is going to go through. And it may not even be a individual layoff or a termination because you violated policy. It could be that the company's going to shut down, or there may be changes in certain processes that eliminate your position. So
Right.
it's not personal. These people are not paying you out of their own pocket. It's a business. They have to function. They have to operate. And while we may not always agree with their decisions, the majority of the time, the decision is for the benefit of the greater good, sacrificing the one or the few to save the many. And I have been a part of numerous changes within organizations where that's been the case, where we've had to lay people off or transition them or demote them. But most of the time ends up being terminations so that we can, get rid of 10 people or 100 people to save 1,000 jobs.
You made a good point when you said that you're talking about as don't change who you are and all those things. And I had a fantastic leader. I will not say their name, but I apologized in a message for that was probably a little too wild. Like, just not wild as in bad, just like that was a little, hyper, whatever you want to call it. That person sent back. Yeah, no, not me. Yeah. That person came back and said, no, be who you are. That's why we hired you. And that kind of gave me a sense of psychological safety with that person and not with, the organization itself. But that let me know that I could be who I really am in front of that person. And I won't have that judgment behind it. And so that's where I truly feel that there's some psychological safety there.
Yeah.
So when I was going down like the rabbit hole of psychological safety, because I went in a deep hole. I came across psychological safety and psychological health, right? And sometimes we think that they're the same thing, but they're not. So I kind of want to talk through what each of them is, and then we can talk about why it's important to create a psychologically safe place for our employees, right? And it could be from the HR lens, from the operations lens, from account, or a different lens. We can explore options, but when we think about psychological health, right? What do you guys think about when you hear the word psychological health?
That's a hard one.
I think about how if you're not taking care of yourself psychologically, your own psychological mental health, there are things that can happen. You can become physically sick because you're not taking care of your own psychological health. And as HR, you have to be able to separate and take care of yourself, because we take on so much inside this job that we put it on our own shoulders, and it just weighs us down. And then you see there's some in HR that quit because they're not taking care of themselves psychologically and getting the help that they need to get it off their chest, or anxiety or depression, all those things. That's what I think about when I think about psychological health.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Psychological health kind of encompasses a range of all those factors. Emotional regulation, right? Self-esteem, resilience, the ability to cope with stress and adversity. So I don't know if you guys remember this last episode, we were talking about, the onboarding or hiring process. And I mentioned that one of my favorite questions to ask when I interview someone is, how do you deal with stress? And the reason that I enjoy asking that question is because I want to make sure how well balanced you are. But really, when I read psychological health, I'm like, this is what I'm looking for. Because you're right, Dr. Green, in HR, you have to take care of yourself mentally. Because think about it, we take on the burdens of everybody else. And like for the folks that are in investigations or employee relations, like that's a heavy workload. You talk to people all day, and it's unfortunately oftentimes it's complaining. And like your mental, like the mental drainage, right? We talked about this too, right? Sometimes we just drive home in silence, and then we're like home and we're like, oh crap, how did I get here? Like I can't imagine how those guys de-stress, but it's different than psychological safety, because safety is a component of a psychologically healthy workplace, right? So you get the safety from a place that's psychologically healthy for you, where your employees are generally going to feel like they are supported, valued, heard, empowered to express their opinions, to express their ideas without that fear of retribution, without the fear of shame, without the fear of retaliation, right? And like when we train these things, right, when we talk about positive work environments, safe work environments, these are ideal workplaces. This is where like this is the perfect workplace. This is where you want to work. I would dare say that 75% of the times that's not true. That's not a reality.
Right. I mean, I would tell you just that one of the things, again, this is with experience. So hopefully this podcast helps a couple of HR professionals as they're either new in the roles or if they're just struggling, right? It's like the one thing I'm learning is that you have to stop trying to be a hero. Stop trying to be Superman. And when I think of psychological health, I just think of I just think of like, you just be vulnerable, be open to the feelings that come with the job. And yes, we have, I think, a little bit thicker skin than most, because it can't be everything that triggers you, right? There's got to be some things, but there is just only so much that you can sort of take before you start to feel some feelings and some darkness, and you go, oh my God, what's going on? The problem that I know that, at least, again, I don't want to say that people in my generation, but what us older folks, is that we don't know how to cope with feelings. And so if you're in an HR role, you're dealing with people's feelings, you're dealing with issues, you're dealing with all these things, you have no idea how to decompress yourself, right? And that's, again, you feel like crying, or you feel like you're getting emotional with the person you're speaking with. And we are programmed, I guess we older HR people, we're programmed to bottle it up. We're programmed to not show that emotion and to keep. Yeah, thank you for pointing at me, all of you. No, but that's what I think. That's what I think is we're programmed that we can't show the emotion, and in business and professional work environments, you cannot have any sign of weakness. When I would tell you that it should be the complete opposite. Like, if you feel, like, let people feel, let yourself feel, and honestly work through that emotion, because it's not healthy to have that anxiety, to have those feelings of coming to work and going, oh my God, am I going to get fired? Or, again, the weight of the issue that you just got. Like be real. Like, you're a human being. And I'll tell you, I learned this in one stop along the way, that was dealing with with end of life care. And that's when I learned to, like, it was like, oh my God, like, I have been doing things so wrong. Like, people, again, I got to this workplace and people were crying at work, and people were it's expressing emotions. And I'm like, at first I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, what, crying at work? What's wrong with you people? Right? I came from a very, very strong corporate background, and I'm like, weakness. I see weakness here. And then I go on a ride along, and I am a blithering mess in a corner.
Learned your lesson, didn't you?
Oh my God. I called home. I called my wife and was like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know that I can do this, but I had never, because I saw others feeling free to express that, I started to feel some kind of way. But again, I just think for me, my view on this psychological health is to understand your own feelings, is to know what they are and to just work through them and acknowledge them. Stop bottling them up. Stop trying to be a hero. And if you need to give yourself a moment, give yourself a moment. So that's the thing. You can put on the facade. You can put on the image of a professional HR person, but you got to know how to deal when the door's closed and nobody's there. How do you deal with those feelings that you're feeling? So that's how I look at it.
I think it boils down to 2 words: emotional intelligence.
I knew you're going there.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I knew you were going to hit that.
It's true. I love that word. I love that
Yeah.
word because when people hear it, they think IQs, they think smartness. And it has absolutely nothing to do with how smart and how good you are at remembering things and how great you are at math or processing policies. It's the ability to understand emotions, both from the other person's perspective to your own. It's being able to accept criticism and feedback and process them. Because in my opinion, I think 75% of those individuals that are not good managers, that don't provide a safety place for, for us to be able to have that my mind's blinking here. My mind's blinking. The psychological safety.
Yeah.
It's because the managers don't have emotional intelligence, and that percentage, 75%, I don't think it applies to the organization itself or a department. It applies to the people because, 75%, if you have, 3 people managing a department, 2 of them may not be emotional intelligent enough to lead people through struggles and changes and make them feel safe at work. And I'm not talking about those special circumstances where something's egregious and doesn't require any empathy or emotional intelligence to be involved to process it. I'm talking about the day-to-day operations part of it. And to be honest, that is something that I spent years developing myself on, because while I've always been really good with my words and I've been really good at, being a subject matter expert with certain policies, or the more time that I spend in certain areas, I'm really good at critical thinking. What really hindered me early on in my career is I had no emotional intelligence. I didn't know how to process feedback, to adjust myself, to be a better leader, to be a better mentor or mentee. So for anyone that you think you're the best, you think you're the top dog, you're the smartest person in the room, I will tell you that means nothing. Look at some of these CEOs of these organizations. Look, like, I'll pick on one of the largest companies in the world, and it's because I have great respect for the CEO, which is Doug McMillon, one of the smartest people I've ever spoke to in my entire life. He has a bachelor's degree, and he grew up working his way up through Walmart. He didn't go to a fancy college. He didn't get a PhD or a master's degree.
I feel attacked.
And honestly, he may not have the answers to every problem that crossed his desk at that time, but his emotional intelligence is so on point that while there's many factors that makes him a great leader, I think that is one of the ones that has taken him the furthest and made him the most respected among his peers and his subordinates. So if you want to take anything away from this podcast from me, is go read up on emotional intelligence, because it ties in with tonight's topic. It makes you a better person. It helps you be a better leader, and how to help people feel psychologically safe, even to the smallest percentage. every percent matters, because it eventually adds to as close to 100% as possible. While it will never be at 100, we can get close to it.
Yeah, and don't use, again, this is a pro tip, nugget for all of you to take away. Don't use these buzzwords and not know what the hell they mean. Don't just use emotional intelligence in a sentence, or tell people they got to go get trained on emotional intelligence. If you don't know what it is, stop that. Nothing ruins your credibility more than your corporate speak, and you're trying to throw these fancy things in there. And again, if you don't know it, you don't know it. That's fine. Like, own it. But just because you heard it on the podcast doesn't mean you use it in the sentence the next day. In practice, in understanding and researching, that's how you really apply that thing. Because right now, you could say the word emotional intelligence and get like an open, what is that, right? Or you get eye rolls because you made everybody do training on it. And so again, just make sure that when you discover something that's going to work like this, right, you apply it. You know what it is. You do a little research on it, because trust me, nothing kills it more than the freaking corporate goons that tell you, "Oh, we're work-life balance," and like that phrase is giving everybody an eye roll. But I'm just saying, let's do that.
Is that going to take us to our next segue of being forced to go to lunches and meetings?
Well, that's also part of the anxiety, but yes.
I have a great story for that. So that ties in with. No, go ahead, Dr. Green. I'll chime in a minute.
Okay, cool. So to give you a little bit about, emotional intelligence, Kenny, I'll send you the book, buddy. At some point, you can get on my level. It's self-regulation is my favorite part of emotional intelligence. You have to be able to regulate your emotions in the time that is needed. That's
without drugs. No drugs.
Yes, please, no drugs. Kenny, it's okay. You can cry. Don't use drugs for that. But kind of like, how we always have this saying of there's a time and a place for everything. There's a self-regulation that you have to have, especially in HR, of like when somebody's doing I do an investigation, and there are unfortunate things like sexual harassment that happen, and you have to keep a solid, emotionless face. That's self-regulating. Now, if you're the person that's going, that's not okay, and you're not self-regulating your Joker brain that's going on in there. So I say that about emotional intelligence because it's such a huge part of being in HR is poker face, keep your emotions in check, and just remember that, I will back you up there, Big Llama, 100%. It's okay to let some of that stuff go. Cry about it, because that's another endorphin release that makes you feel better at the end.
I partially disagree with that comment that there's a time and a place for everything. It's about as effective as a gated community at an apartment complex. It is a false sense of security. While there might be a time and a place for a lot of stuff, there are sometimes situations where there is no time and no place for it. You just got to go with the best fit.
I feel attacked again, but I live in a house with the gated. So.
It is a false sense of security, because if those people are smart, they'll just walk around the gate.
We're just going to say that they're not smart.
So
they don't have intelligence.
The story I have for mandated lunches and meetings, and this ties in with what does not give you psychological safety, is a company that I worked with early on in my career. We had a massive mandatory dinner, and they provided an open bar. And
bearable.
It was open bar, no limit, open seating, with one exception. There was an HR representative at each table.
Oh,
Jesus.
I'm not
drinking at
going.
the bar. I'm just going to the bar.
Tell me you don't feel psychologically safe without telling me you don't feel psychologically safe.
Just give me your drink
Just
tickets
saying.
at that point.
Like,
I will tell you, when I left that meeting, 6 people no longer had a job.
It's a good way of getting. Just don't do this, anybody. It's a good way of like getting rid of some people. Like, this one's too wild. We gotta let them go.
That's about as equivalent of putting drugs in a recovering addict's house and then expecting them not to be tempted. I'm like, that was so wrong on so many levels. That is not a way to make your employees feel psychologically safe. That is a way for them to absolutely lose all trust in you. And eventually, unless you're paying them an obscene amount of money, they will not stay with you. And that probably accounts for their turnover rate that they had.
Oh my God.
So, mandatory lunches and parties. You got to show up. You ain't got to eat, but you got to sit.
Next
Give me the
page.
martini.
Oh no. So I think I don't know if I think I've expressed that I am very open with my feelings, and so in my experienced age, I have learned to be vocal about the things I will and will not do. But those things, but those forced business trips and build the team building meetings and lunches, it's a special level of anxiety that I get. Because I truly don't want to look bad. Like I wrestle with how comfortable do I feel telling people I don't do that, right? Or I won't do that. Because then I look like a jerk, right? I look like, oh, he's not a team player. He's not partaking in the lunch, and he's not part of the team building. But I just value my time, and my time away from the office is my time, right? And so I shouldn't feel guilty about not wanting to spend my free time with you, who I see every day, 8 to 10 hours a day. No, I shouldn't. But at the same time, I get it. Like there's a benefit to the networking and team building, but like honestly, it depends on what level your career you're at, right? Like if you're new and you want to get to know people and network, you go to those things, you go to those events, and I've done that. But like once I've reached the point where I'm like, I'm pretty comfortable in what I do, and I'd like just doing what I do. Yeah, I don't want to schmooze. I don't want to smile and look at your kids' pictures. I don't want to do that because I'm not that interested. I don't say that out loud. I just say, "Oh, that's nice. That's very nice." No, Dr. Green, I love seeing your kids' pictures. I do.
That's
like
right.
I do like them on
Big
Facebook.
Llama, your body, your choice. You don't have to go.
Thank you. I feel seen. No,
I feel empowered, don't you?
I do. No, it's one of those things where unfortunately management and again HR, we're guilty of this too. We don't realize the power of our positions. Like, you're the boss and you invite everyone to a after hours, lunch or dinner or a team building activity outside. You really feel obligated because like you're the boss, and unfortunately, that's what we need to teach leaders and also HR professionals. It's like, remember what position you hold, and that there's just an implied influence there. Like people will do what you say because they want to please you. They don't want to piss you off. Not that you're mean and not that you intend it that way, but it just, again, the boss of the company comes to you and is like, hey, we're going to have dinner tonight. Like, how hard is it to say, nah, bro, I'm not having dinner with you? But like, it's hard. Like you almost feel obligated, like, oh, okay, no problem. Yes. And then you back yourself into a corner and then you're like, how do I get out of this? So that's all. I mean, you have to make it inviting and you can make it optional, I think. And just say, it's a gesture. Just say, hey, we're going out tonight. You don't feel obligated to go if you don't have to. We understand. But if you guys want to meet at the Chili's, we're going to be there tonight. happy hour. Fine.
Yeah.
If I want to go, I'll go. If not, thank you.
I don't want to go, right? Like, I don't want to go. I enjoy my work-life harmony.
Okay.
We're not calling it work-life balance anymore. We're
It's no
calling
such
it
thing.
work-life harmony.
Right.
But then I have FOMO. Like,
oh, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Like I like Chili's. I like their chips and salsa. I want to kind of come, but like I don't necessarily want to be there with you guys. But like I also want to be in on, whatever little gossip we're sharing, whatever little insights we're getting. Like I want that too.
I want to see Becky
although
get
I
wild.
don't. Yeah.
Becky's gonna she's gonna have one too many drinks, and I want her to spill all her secrets.
Becky and benefits. Becky and benefits.
This is the next time we say, Becky, I need to talk with you. It's not about the benefits.
There is no psychological safety here, Becky.
Yeah, but we know Mama Mel wants those baby back ribs. We know.
Oh, baby back ribs.
True story. I have been craving their Milton chocolate cake for like 2 months.
So quick segue, because we did this last time. Best menu item at Chili's. Go.
Chips and salsa.
Mozzarella cheese sticks. This big old square
Listen,
things.
they've got the most delicious cheese pool on this planet.
Cheese curds.
They do.
Cheese curds. I like their cheese curds.
They have cheese curds?
I didn't know they had. Do they really?
Well, the one here does.
No one likes chicken crispers.
Oh,
no. The chicken crispers are classic.
Nashville hot.
Yes.
Nashville hot.
Yes.
You guys see the TikToks of because the triple dipper is coming back. Like that's such a thing right now.
That's iconic.
But it's I know, and I'm thinking like, hey, we used to do that like when I was younger. That was the in thing. You're not cool
in our 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You 2 years ago.
Although what's fallen off the map is their Cajun chicken pasta. It used to be my go-to.
Oh man, I love that. Oh.
Yeah, but now it's terrible. That's terrible. They serve it in that fake bowl that looks big, but it's not.
Like a lot of food. It's half full.
And you put your fork in, it hits the plate instantly.
I can't think of one dish that I'm like, they have this is the dish. Like I just go there for appetizers and like dessert, and then you're out. Like you don't need to have an entree. It's totally fine.
Spinach dip.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
but
yes.
You know what I discovered during the pandemic is that you can buy the chips and salsa separately and just do a pickup on the to-go. You just you call in, you say I'm getting an order of chips and salsa. They give you a giant thing of salsa and a huge bag of chips. You pick that up, movie night, you're good. But anyway.
They also had their margaritas to go during COVID.
Yes, they did.
Sounds like a great night to me.
COVID.
Mine
all right, so sorry to derail us.
Mine was the what's that? Kenny made me think about it. It was the chicken crispers. But this I was down south. I was doing stuff for the Army, and we went to Chili's, and it was a chicken crisper waffle. Like, it has a waffle, and then you had the chicken crisper on top, and the glaze from the what do you call that? The syrup, and it made it so good. And I was like, I'm not a guy who eats like waffles and chicken together. Like, it's not my thing, but it was so good. Take your triple dipper somewhere else, buddy.
Triple dipper. That's what you're having.
Okay. Back to
bringing it back. Why is it important? Why do you guys think creating psychological safety in your workplace is important?
Retention. Morale. Keep Becky from drinking too much on the work lunches that we're mandating.
Damn it, Becky.
Oh my
Becky
God!
needs to watch her back.
Hey, no, the reason why I use Becky a lot
Big
is
Becky.
I have worked with two Beckys, and both Beckys had a drinking problem at work.
Is Becky that bleach blonde, bad body? What was it?
Beach blonde, bad built, butch body.
Becky.
And one
Becky.
did have a bleach blonde, bad built butch body too. So
the only Becky I know who could probably kick my ass, and she's like 3'4". You know, she's at the CrossFit gym trainer, and she like was a real badass. But
nope.
She stood this tall and would yell at me. So
she goes by Beck. Don't call her Becky. She goes by Beck because she'll beck you up.
No, she was a badass.
She's gonna go to Big Long and go, "What'd you say about me?"
Shout out to Becky.
Well, she's on LinkedIn, so she might hear this. Hopefully, she makes it to an hour and 13 minutes of the podcast.
Shout out to you, Becky.
Shout out to
we
you,
love you, Becky.
We love you, Bex.
Yeah,
I hated your burpees.
The one thing I will say about work lunches, though, is if you do send out the invitations, whether they're mandatory or they're optional, try to have the lowest person in the management totem pole send out the invite. Don't have the VP sending it. Don't have the CEO or chief operating officer send it, because it's already bad enough to not want to go when you have an hourly supervisor that you just can't stand sending out the email. But when it comes from such a senior leader, yes, you get more participation, but you get it out of fear versus they're voluntarily wanting to come. And then, another thing is I can't stand when we have meetings or lunches and the leaders don't talk to everybody. Like, walk around. If you don't shake people's hands, say hi to them. Ask them how their day's going. I get it. Big Llama don't like your kids, but how's the kids doing?
I hate your kids and your dogs. Just kidding.
Yeah, don't bring your dog.
Kissing babies.
Don't bring your dog. I get that. I get if they are not ADA compliant, don't bring them. Leave them at home.
Big disrespect.
Listen, I feel attacked. Yeah, listen, I
bring your turtle, Kenny. Bring your turtle.
There is a freedom of being able to say and verbalize the things that you like and don't like, and it's such a great freedom. But at the same time, I get perceived as an asshole, and so I own that. Like, for example, and Mama Mel, do not take any offense, but gender reveals, don't ever invite me to one. Your potlucks, don't invite me to those either, because I don't do potlucks, right? There's little things. Mama Mel, I told you, don't take offense. You made this face.
I'm blocking you right after.
You're the exception.
I'm offended for you, Mama Mel.
Mama Mel
is for you.
She's the exception. She's allowed to send him.
We're
talking about work.
Be the exception, my friend.
This is at work.
In general, I don't want to go. In general, I don't want to go to a gender reveal. But
in general, he doesn't want to socialize with humans outside of his family.
Most of the time,
have to.
Most of the time, but okay, and I like your pictures and I like your stuff. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily. Okay, if Mama Mel came to me and was like, Kenny, please come to my gender reveal, I would be like, absolutely, not a problem, right? Because we know each other. This is great. Anybody else, the answer is no.
Dang, if I asked you to come to mine, you wouldn't come?
That includes you too.
Mel, Mama Mel, we're going to have a gender reveal party, and we're going to invite the Big Llama's wife and kids, but he's not invited.
That's fine. That's fine. They can go. They can go. Mama Llama will go, and it's all good. And
then we're gonna get Miss Big Llama a little tipsy, and we're gonna find out some secrets.
Secrets. Talk about gossip at work. Woo!
Yeah.
No. Mama Llama.
What's her favorite drink? Is it light or dark? Is it liquor, beer?
Smirnoff.
I feel like it's tequila and vodka. Maybe I feel a tequila and vodka coming from her.
She's on a vodka kick, so that's vodka or seltzer. So
we
vodka and orange juice. Give me a screwdriver. Heck yeah.
Vodka and anything.
Vodka and anything. Yeah, pretty much.
Vodka and a cup.
Not vodka and Becky.
No.
Fucking Becky.
Vodka and Becky.
Baka and Becky.
Listen, can we go back to this list?
Listen,
Because
let's
Mama
reel it
Llama.
back in here. Let's reel it in here for Mama Llama makes a guest appearance in the back with a chancla.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's already hit the door 3 times. No,
So-
all right. So go ahead. I was gonna say, like, bad news. I hate delivering bad news.
Ooh.
Like forced bad news of company changes, money that we can't give them, insurance rate changes. Again, those are HR functions, but there is an anxiety level that comes with being the mouthpiece for the bad news. And unfortunately, leaders become cowards sometimes.
Absolutely.
And they go, well, HR is going to tell you all about that. And you're like,
yeah, let me turn it over to HR for Q&A.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like sitting there like, what?
Yeah, you're in the line of fire.
Especially a budget question. Like, okay, so how many times have you, and again, I've done this 100 times, but we get the briefing. It's a bad year. We didn't hit our goals. There's no money for increases this year. HR, you're going to go ahead and draft the talk points and deliver them. We'll set up meetings with you, and we'll set up office hours for you. We'll do all this stuff for you, but you get to tell the people there's no money. Have a nice day. Well, I'm just saying it. And again, we want to be good stewards of the company, but at the same time, like, what? Like, why me? But if you know me, I got no problem telling you that because I'm impacted too, right? I put on my, hey, I ain't getting shit either. So let's talk about this. Right.
Complain about it together.
Right. I mean,
go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying that's if I'm not getting it, you're not getting it, then I don't have a problem with it. Where I feel bad is if I'm getting something and you're not getting anything.
The thing that came to my mind when you instantly started telling the story was that TikTok, and I know y'all probably already seen it, which is where this lady is in HR and a manager comes to them and says, "Hey, so and so is below the threshold for their salary, experience, and blah blah blah," and they say, "Okay, well, let me go do an analysis on it and tell you what would be up to par." Okay. Manager comes back and they give her, yes, 25% is what they need to be brought up to in order to be market level. And they go and look at their budget and they go, as a matter of fact, I can't even give a raise. I can't give anybody anything. So then they go back to that employee and the employee goes, "Hey, so what about my raise?" "Oh, HR said no." And I was instantly furious because we get blamed for all these little things. And it's just, we're the scapegoats.
You got mad? I laughed because I'm
like, this is so true.
The reality of it, it's like, when's the last time I got to sit in the financial accounting budget meeting to set how much pay raises are going to be this year? That's right. I act my wage. That's not my wage.
That should be another topic podcast.
Act your wage.
Act your wage. So how do we set up a psychological safe environment for our employees? How do we do that as leaders? How do we do that in HR? How do we, we can promote it, right? Till we're blue in the face. We, the HR folks, can do it. But how do we actively embody a psychologically safe environment?
So coming from the HR side, from HR professionals, the only way, while there are many ways, what I think is the most impactful way is to have as much face time and be as vocal as possible with your team when it's not required. Because if they only see you when you're firing someone, and they only see you when we're finding out we're not getting pay raises, and they only see you when the benefits package is going down, you are going to be known as the local terrorist. You have to make sure, and this is what makes, and it's kind of challenging because like, how do you get away from your desk when you're so busy to do a quick round on the floor? Or like in my case, like I have multiple locations over 2 different states. Like, how do you get that face time with those employees? And sometimes it means going above and beyond, doing more tours, traveling a little bit more if you're not local. If you can't travel, make it a Teams meeting with video, but just talk to them, ask them how their day's going. I hate when people say, how are you doing today? Because you're just asking for them to share all the terrible news that's going on for the last year. And then you find out they had 7 people die in their family last week. Their cat just got cancer. Their car broke down. Their house is going through foreclosure. What I like to ask people to try to keep it on a positive note is, what's good today? Hey, what's a positive note for that you want to share today? It could be work related or personal. I leave it open for them, but what's good today? What's one positive thing that happened this week? And sometimes it makes them think. Some people it's easier, some it's harder, but it makes them think. And then HR is kind of like a lot of different things, which is you are as good as your last engagement. If your last engagement was bad, then that is your reputation. If your last engagement was good, that is your reputation for that being. And your reputation changes probably more than you change underwear. So talk to your team as much as possible. Have as much FaceTime as possible. When you're in those meetings and absolutely nobody else is on camera, who cares? Turn your camera on. Let them see you. Even if you're not the one talking, let them see you on camera. So they can associate your participation, your attendance. That's not a bad thing in this situation. That's the only way. And it's very limited. And while there's many other ways to try to control the narrative, to me, that's the most impactful, the most memorable. And it's kind of very limited what's within our control that we can do. So that's my spit. Dr. Green. Catch me outside. What's yours?
Mine, I will agree with you. That's actually where I would engagement. Engagement has to be not a one-person thing. It has to be a team effort. Got to be, how they say they change culture from the top down? If you have the CEOs like, yes, I want good culture. COO, yes, let's have a good culture. And then gets to a vice president, forget culture. Boom. Now you've ruined culture. If you are a leader, every leader should be involved in some type of engagement with their employees. It's not to save face. It's to be a part of the workplace, but also be a part of your employees. They'll trust you more. They'll be engaged with you more. They'll have that relationship that you truly need to have in order to build that trust, build that relationship, and be successful. That's what you got to have. So engagement to me is extremely important. I'm not saying every leader in the company go play bingo with people on the floor. That's not what I mean. I mean, like you even said, walk on the floor, say, how's it going? Hey, how you doing today? Or what you like to say, which is, what's good, dog? But all these other things, keeping that connection, and they will trust you so much more.
Yeah. I want to make sure I call out what you said. Speak. Don't walk around the floor and stare at people like a creepy stalker. Speak.
Right.
And you know what? And there may be environments where it's hard to talk. We've all worked in an environment that, is in like a call center setting where, you have people that are live on phones. You can't just go up and go, excuse me. No, tell the customer to hold on. How's your day going? You can't do that, but wave at them. Like mouth the word hello, hi, wave at them as you walk by. Smile. Don't look like you're constipated. I get it. It's hard for some people, but don't just walk around and stare at people, because then you're going to set that reputation that you're looking for something that's wrong. You don't say hi to anybody. I actually had a recent situation where I was on the phone walking through a building and someone said hi to me and I didn't hear them. And they asked someone else, like, well, why didn't he say hi to me? And I was like, oh, did they say? I didn't even see him say hi. And I'm a very social person, so I took that person. I took that personally because I'm like, I'm gonna make this right. I'm gonna say hi to them, but walk the floor, say hi to people
in a non-aggressive way.
Like,
I'm gonna say hi to that person.
What's up?
I know.
I'm gonna be the best greeter ever.
And I do want to say, for all of our negative Nancys out there, they're going to be like, well, I'm too busy, I can't ever remember. Set a calendar invite.
Yeah.
All right. And don't give me this BS that, I work from home. Well, I love that for you. Call somebody on Teams.
Yeah.
Call them on Teams. Call them on Teams and be like, boy, turn your camera on. How's your day?
Advice: do not call them boy. Okay.
Yeah, don't call
or
don't
girl
call
or hun or honey or anything like that.
Yes.
Like, hey, turn your camera on.
Call them Chica. Say, Chica, turn your camera on. No, I'm joking. Or it's like someone, as my nickname in one of the stores I used to work at, they used to call me Papi.
Do not call anybody Papi.
Don't call them. I get in some areas it's a heritage thing. They didn't mean it in a sexy way. They're calling me Poppy as in like, they were an older lady.
What does Poppy mean though?
It depends on how you say it and what culture it's coming from. One could be romantic while the other one is more just, I don't know
it means daddy.
It means daddy, but it does not mean like daddy is and I want to sleep with you.
Hi, Papi.
I call my dad, I call him Papi, but that's my dad.
Yeah.
But you said it in a more Papi, not
that's
Papi.
I was in a little bit of a senior position, so she said it in a very endearing way, not a
like a father figure. Yeah, like
yes,
a father figure.
Yeah,
it's a respectful Papi.
So
it's a respectful Papi.
You were a father figure to a lot of people, huh?
But regardless, don't say Poppy. Don't say Poppy because
or
the big llama.
I know
the big llama keeps giving me Title VII violation vibes over here. Keeps calling himself old. All I can hear.
What?
I'm like, I'm just waiting for that person to agree with you at work, and then you go, "Oh, yeah, no, I can say it about me. You can't say it. You violated Title VII."
I low key am trying to crawl out of my skin based on this conversation and the amount of times we've said the word Poppy in many different tones and dialects. I've even lost my train of thought. I'm like, what am I going to say to close this out? And I'm like, Poppy.
We're going to get vodka, and every time we say the word Poppy, it's a shot.
We need to find Becky first.
Don't bring Becky.
Hey, Becky for benefits.
I will buy a wig and I will be Becky for you.
I will not call you Poppy. I mean, you will not call me.
For those of you watching, you see me slowly move away from the camera.
As he puts his hood up like Slim Shady over there.
But on a good note,
know what we're talking about.
We have psychological safety here in this call.
That's right.
We do. For those of you listening, this is your safe space.
Yes, just don't call us Poppy, okay?
Please.
Well, is there?
Here we go.
All right, I'm gonna bring it back.
Let's close this out. Let's just wrap
the women that hear this podcast are like, we know exactly what she's feeling right now. Let me reel these men back in. Bring it back home, gentlemen.
All right. We'll bring this to a close as we always do. We'll go around in a circle and give our final thoughts on today's topic. We'll start with Mama Mel.
So I wanted to just add, but I'll close with it. to Jake's point, be intentional, right? As a leader or as an HR person, right? I think when we talk about these topics, it's always in a training and development aspect, like we feel like we're talking to the leaders and not HR folks, but you can do it in HR too, be intentional with gratitude and appreciation. Think about the last time that you were appreciated for the work that you did or for your small contribution to this larger cause and how good that made you feel. And take that feeling and sprinkle it around like your Tinkerbell and you're just sprinkling fairy dust everywhere. Be intentional with appreciation, be intentional with the gratitude of your employees, and that is going to help build a psychologically safe environment for your folks, and it's going to help them stay with you and be I don't want to say loyal because that's such a strong word and it can be misinterpreted and taken in weird places, but it's going to give you a environment that's alive and you're going to benefit from all of your resources.
Love it. Dr. Green.
I'm going to go back to our little psychological health. No matter what position that you're in, no matter where you're at, what you do, you need to take care of yourself. And we have families. Most of us have families that we have to take care of. And think about it like this. You can't take care of them if you can't take care of yourself. So remember, whenever you're going through these hard times, it's okay, like what Big Llama said, is to cry, to get these emotions out in a safe way. But make sure that you're doing that, because bottling it up ends up with an explosion, and it affects your family, it affects you, and it can come out negative. So the best thing I can tell you to do is please take care of your mental health. Use the EAP programs. They're there for a reason. So that's my advice.
Good
Love
stuff.
it. Big Llama. What's the drama?
No drama for the llama. No. So I think we've hit on a lot of things, and I think this episode, more than any of them, I've been a little bit more open about my internal monologue, right, or what I think on some things. But honesty and self-awareness and self-assessment are huge in this. Like, you have to know how your words impact folks, right? How your position impacts people, your actions. And don't ever forget that you're always gonna have to keep that in mind in what you do. So those are a couple things that I would say from the exterior, right? From those that have positions of power. Look to see what your actions are doing to your employees. Like really, like be aware of the room. You can't just say I didn't know, right? You have to understand that everything that you do, someone is watching and someone feels pressure as a result. The other flip side of that is for those of you that do this for a living and you're in HR, be aware of your feelings. Be aware of those situations where you start to feel overwhelmed, and just, either talk to somebody or figure out some coping mechanisms, right? Whether it's, again, it's deliverables, it's the people that are telling you these things, that can get to you. It's your own personal experience. It could be even your personal life. You have to figure out, how do you manage those feelings? And once you acknowledge that, I need help, or I need some assistance here, you'll feel better. You'll get some help, and then you can do your job and function. Because again, no one should be a superhero. We all just need to be real, and as Dr. Green would say, put the human in human resources. Those are my thoughts.
Amazing. Well, I don't want to be a bird that repeats the same thing, but if I took everything that y'all said, which I agree with all of it, the way I would kind of close that out is, when you're in a leadership position, ignorance is no excuse. If you accept the job, whether you're given the training or not, you have an obligation to the employee. You have a fiduciary obligation to the organization to go get that knowledge or self-teach, because you accepted the job and the roles and the responsibilities, which comes with psychological safety. So remember, ignorance is no excuse. Logo for a t-shirt.
There you go.
So as we bring that to an end, we want to remind the audience until next time, when we call you into the office, hate has no home here.
Absolutely love it. Peace out, everybody. Have a great time at work. Don't go to any forced meetings, and no gender reveals. All right.
And don't invite Big Llama to any gender reveals. Okay.
No, or potlucks, or if you have cats, don't let me in. All right. Good night, everybody. Well, that's another episode of the Four Friends Trying to Figure Out HR. We didn't solve anything, but hey, at least we tried.
And by tried, we mean we laughed, we overshared, and we probably violated some HR guidelines ourselves.
But remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Don't take our advice. Seriously, don't.
And if your HR manager asks, you've never heard of us or this podcast.
Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and join us the next time as we keep trying to figure out HR and fail spectacularly.
Now, go be productive, or at least pretend to be.
And tell your boss that I said hi.
Tell your mom I said hello.
Tell your daddy I said hey.
And remember, hate has no home here.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week again for a fresh round.